Hey everybody, welcome back. As many of you know, last night was a night of great consequence as the people of the United States more than likely find themselves in a new protracted campaign in the Middle East. So let's have a look.
A time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
There's actually an argument to be made, and it's been made by many people outside the United States, that America is actually the world's greatest sponsor of terrorism. Just with the amount of militias that we've armed over generations now and the conflicts that we've started. But definitely Iran has not been innocent in this regard. If you know anything about the geopolitics in the area, they have sponsored many of the more radicalized militias all throughout the Middle East that have done terror campaigns all over the region and the world.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
I mean, just to be honest, this language itself says that we are indeed the bully of the Middle East. But that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who is aware of the fact that the past 20 years we've absolutely destabilized the region by drenching it in warfare.
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
You know, it's a fascinating thing to look at the entire situation because it's been playing out for decades now. Like I said, over multiple generations. The conflict between Iran and America is one that is really not as shallow as I think a lot of people are taking it as. This is a very complicated matter. And as far as the culture of warfare in the Middle East, it's very different than it is in the West and America in general. We just tend to look at things as, what happens now, and its significance is only as important as long as it's in the media. But for many of these attacks, the justification that we use doesn't really matter. And with the absence of any actual proof that there has been any kind of development of weaponized nuclear assets in the region, essentially this attack was pulled off just off of a gut feeling and without any kind of approval from Congress or anything like that. I mean, As far as the Middle East goes, historically, right, they do generational warfare. To attack them now is the justification for violence 100 years down the road. This is a way of conducting war and reprisals that has been going on for thousands of years. But it's only for us over here in our kind of safe bubble that we've kind of, that we believe that we've civilized past that point. But like I said, it's a much more complicated matter than that. And to just think that you're going to go in, first off, if we look at the situation that's been happening recently, Israel attacked Iran. And of course, Iran has been funding and arming Hamas for a very long time. But a direct attack on Iran, which of course meant that they were going to retaliate. So you're starting to have that back and forth and an actual hot war between Iran and Israel start. For the United States to go in and attack and then immediately call for peace, or else puts Iran in the position where they're backed into a corner where they have to retaliate. And they're going to in one way or another. This idea that it's going to be an open war and that the conventional war power that America brings to the table would absolutely decimate the Iranian military is really short-sighted. Like I said, everyone in the Middle East knows that the effective way to fight the United States isn't by actually confronting them head on, and that would never happen. What they're going to do is the same thing that they've been doing for generations now, which is using proxy militaries, proxy countries, and smaller terrorist cells all throughout the world to really rain terror. Right? It's kind of like it's similar to what we saw in Afghanistan, this kind of Fabian tactics where you don't attack a stronger force head on. You pick at its morale, you pick at its supply chain, you pick at the resources that it needs. And that's exactly what this is going to lead to. An entire new wave of attacks all throughout the world. Because again, this is seen as more than just an attack on a sovereign nation in the Middle East. This is an attack on a religion. And though you may not believe that, that's how this is going to be seen and accepted by hardliners all over the world.
Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I know that this is an appeal to the base, and I'm not exactly a big believer of the conviction of this president when it comes to the religion that he purports to represent. But I will say that I find something incredibly diabolical when it comes to guising the aggressive military actions of your country towards another, especially one with a completely different state religion, with the justification of zealous language. Because again, like I said, this just adds fuel to the fire of pushing the sentiment that a new era of holy war, a new era of jihad is just right around the corner. It's just at our doorstep, and it's the door that we are opening on purpose. So, it's a real chaotic time right now, and honestly, reprisals and of course retaliation is the next thing that everyone's going to be looking for, especially through the proxy militias all over Iraq, and of course the Houthis in Yemen, who have promised to make attacks on American installations and personnel if attacks on Iran was directly made by the United States. So it's interesting to see where this goes next. Hopefully there are some kind of peace talks that can be made, but at the same time, I find that to be completely unlikely in this situation, especially in talking about the context of the cultures that are involved in this situation and the history of conflict and the strategies that typically they use to conduct in these geopolitical matters. But with that said, thank you for stopping by. Like and subscribe if you're still here at this point. Think about becoming a member, helping the channel. Any ideas? If you think that this is the right call, if you think that, hey, we've just opened a new can of worms and now we're going to be in another 20 years of conflict, drop it down in the comment section. I'm really interested to see where everyone's kind of sitting in on this right now. But it's a really interesting time to be alive and hopefully we can see some kind of de-escalation. But thank you.